Welcome to the Leadership Genius Podcast, a resource for everything leadership. I am the host of the Leadership Genius Podcast, Jason Diamond Arnold, and I'm also Director of Leadership Solutions at Inspire Software, the world's first leadership development program as a subscription. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later today as we get into the topic today. And today's topic is leadership coaching. It is a major player in the leadership development market. It's becoming a very valuable resource within organizations is to impart and invest in leadership coaching for your leaders at every level of the organization. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about what leadership coaching is and what it is not. And maybe start with what it is not first, and then talk about what it is and how it relates to some of the things that we're doing at Inspire Software through the Leadership Genius curriculum that is embedded into our performance management strategy platform. So let's talk about some of the things that leadership coaching is not. I think one of the biggest misperceptions immediately when you think of the word, or I talk to people about leadership coaching, is that it's some type of intervention because there's something negative going on. A leader's having difficult conversations, or they're getting feedback on their leadership style, and so some type of intervention needs to take place. We're going to give them some leadership coaching. I would say in some cases that might be appropriate for leadership coaching, but that is not the general premise of leadership coaching, at least not from our perspective at Inspire Software, not my perspective as a leadership coach. Leadership coaching is a lot like any other type of coaching that you would get in life, whether it's life coaching or fitness coach or a sports coach. But even an example of a fitness coach, how it relates to leadership coaching is that you could go to the gym and you could work out and you could be a routine on steps, or you're running, or whatever your activity is that you're doing to stay fit and thrive physically. Even then, it's helpful to consider investing in a fitness coach to help guide you, to help set some goals, to kind of process things. It's very helpful for us to get outside of our minds and get some coaching, especially from experts that could then guide us through this process in our journey towards fitness coaching. It's very similar for leadership coaching, in that you may have your MBA, you may be an executive leader, you may be a leader of a team or a department, you may be a self-leader, you may be a one-to-one leader where you manage direct reports, and you may be very skilled at it. No matter what level or what your years of experience is in a leadership role or in the various types of leadership roles within an organization, it's still a valuable resource to consider as having a leadership coach that can check in with you, that's outside of the performance system, that's even outside of the organization that you're in. It may be a leadership coach within, but it could be someone that's external from the organization that's able to check in with you and kind of process your leadership style, your leadership point of view, how it relates to the different contexts that you're trying to lead in on a day-to-day basis within your organization or within your community, wherever you may be leading, even in your family. So leadership coaching is not an intervention. The other quick thing that I want to mention is that leadership coaching is not therapy. Even though our curriculum at Inspire Software through the Leadership Genius curriculum is rooted in behavioral science, that is leadership theory, it is not a license to do therapy. In fact, one of the core attributes that we use in Inspire coaching, and particularly the leadership coaching through Inspire Software, is ICF best practices, International Coaching Federation. And there is a strong line between what you do as a leadership coach and the behavioral science that you talk about within leadership concepts or leadership theories and the leaders that you're coaching. And when it gets to that line of coming into situations that are more psychological and in need of therapists, licensed therapists that could address those issues, then often what happens as leadership coaches that we recommend another avenue in terms of therapy or, some type of intervention or some type of, very much the same way leadership coaching, but a very different practice in psychology or being a licensed therapist. So leadership coaching is not that. And, one of the misnomers about coming into is like, oh, I don't want to get into all this soft, psychological. It can feel at times like it's a therapy session in leadership coaching if it's not done in an effective way by a leadership coach. But leadership coaching, that's a good segue to talking about what it is. Leadership coaching is not the intervention, it's not therapy, but what it is it's an opportunity for you to grow as a leader, as I said, through an objective third-party coach that comes in and really works with you to talk about what do you want to grow in as a leader? What are the situations that you like to talk about? What are the narratives that you'd like to surface? You're not there to solve problems, but you're there to help leaders grow in whatever context there are. And there are different contexts. Obviously, one of the most popular and widely used leadership coaching practices is an executive leadership. But it's not exclusive to executive leaders, and you can coach executive leaders on, how to set strategy more effectively. How do you turn your strategy into corporate OKRs? What kind of things can you coach executive leaders in terms of how it relates to their board members or to the executive team? There's always an opportunity, no matter what level or how much experience you have as an executive leader, to engage in a partnership of leadership coaching in that context. But there's other contexts too, in terms of leading within a department or leading a team within an organization and getting some coaching in that context, or coaching as a manager. Maybe you're a first-time manager, getting some leadership coaching in that context. And I would say something that I'm very passionate about is self-leadership coaching, is working with individual contributors that are team members that understand the best practices of a self-leader. That's not saying everyone's a leader. That means that there's a very specific process that you go through as an individual contributor to learn some of the basic fundamental skills of leading in a self context, and having someone that you can check in on your goals or check in any of your roles with a leadership coach is a very effective way to kind of process your role as a self-leader, and it can help guide you and develop you into some other aspects of growing your career. So, one of the things that we do at Inspire Software is that we use our holistic platform to help executive leaders set strategy, turn that strategy into performance through OKRs or goals, some type of goal-setting methodology, plug those goals into a continuous performance management process. Then we embed the leadership skills into our software applications, where you can actually not just learn what great leadership is, you're applying what great leadership is. You could even do it vice versa. You can use some of the tools to practice great leadership and then learn what that means and why you're using it in that way within our software. And one of the unique things that we do with our Inspire coaches, particularly as it relates to leaders, is we analyze some of the data that comes from the system and some of the best practices that people are using within the software. So in other words, there's quantitative data that leaders produce when they check in with their individual contributors, or an individual self-leader checks in on their goals and they solicit feedback from their manager, or a manager gives feedback to something particular, some quantitative data that is within the system that can be analyzed and then cross-referenced to some of the qualitative data that's in the platform, and that there are leadership conversations happening in a one-to-one context, or leadership conversations that are happening in a team concept, maybe captured from AI notes in a Microsoft Teams meeting, or a Zoom meeting, or in some type of virtual meeting, using AI notes to kind of summarize what some of the themes were in those one-to-one sessions or team meeting sessions. And so we can analyze some of that qualitative data and cross-reference it with some of the quantitative data on seeing what leadership behaviors are. And I'll leave you on this note too. One of the coolest things is being able to then use some of the coaching sessions, and with permission, record those sessions with all anonymity, that the coaching sessions are private, they're one-to-one, even in the context of a team. What happens in a coaching session stays within that session. You are guarded and protected. It's a sacred space for you to be able to come and process things. If there's an agreement to use some of that data and scrub it down and take any names out or anything like that, or you want to use it even in the context with your coach, you can analyze some of those qualitative conversations that you had in coaching sessions, either in an executive coaching session, a team coaching session, a one-to-one, or a self-leadership. You can analyze the data that was produced by your coaching sessions with your leadership coach and be able to gain insights into what's your narrative, what's your journey as a leader, how are you developing, where could you develop more leadership skills, where are your strengths, what are opportunities for growth. So there's a lot of ways that you can practice and engage in leadership coaching in today's 21st century workforce. If you're interested in more information about how we do coaching at Inspire Software, please go to inspiresoftware.com. You can reach out to me directly at Jason Diamond Arnold on LinkedIn Learning, and you could look us up and reach out to us. We'd happy to do a demo. We offer free coaching sessions for those that take our strategy assessment and want some coaching in terms of helping you set a strategy within your organization. A lot of opportunities for you to think about and potentially invest in leadership coaching, performance coaching, executive coaching, so that you can become a better leader and help your organization thrive, help advance your career, and help you become the best leader that you can be. Our premise at Leadership Genius is that the world desperately needs more effective leaders. And one of the greatest ways that you can become a better leader is to invest in leadership coaching. And so that's our call to you today, is to think about that opportunity. And we thank you for joining us today. And we hope that you take something away from this and go out and make the world a better place through your leadership practices, through your leadership genius.